Good evening. I am Melanie Bradley. I would like to start by thanking JDRF for hosting this amazing event and for inviting me to speak tonight. It's hard to believe that this is the 5th annual JDRF Gala, which just means that we are that much closer to finding a cure for this devastating disease. That's right. I am a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed on March 9th, 1979. A lot has changed over the last 35 years in regards to the management of my diabetes. When I was a child, testing my blood sugar was something that was only done if the urine test strip registered drastically high or low. Now, I easily test my blood sugar 8 to 10 times a day. It's much more convenient and far more effective. Being a child with diabetes, of course I remember having days where I thought it was awful and unfair and why did this happen to me? But as I got older, my thoughts often turned towards my parents and how difficult it must have been for them trying to keep my life as normal as possible without discounting the importance of managing my diabetes. Now I have an even different view of diabetes and how it can affect a family because I am a parent myself to 2 beautiful, healthy children. My daughter Madeline is 3. And my son Cooper is 18 months old. Yay! I think that for most of you out there who are parents, you can understand that there truly are no words that can really describe how much you love your children. And I also feel confident in saying that most women who are mothers would without a doubt define themselves as a mother above all else. The same goes for me. However, I am denied this pleasure because for me, I am a diabetic above all else. And in order for me to be able to be a good mother, I have to first be a good diabetic. When it was just me and my husband, I really felt like I had things under control, and you would never catch me complaining about my diabetes. It was the way that it was, and I was confident and capable in taking care of myself. I can honestly say I was not prepared at all for how much the blessing of parenthood would not only change my life, but also change my perspective on diabetes. You know what? This is hard. Sometimes I feel too proud to admit it, but it's hard because I have to test my blood sugar, even if my baby's crying. So I do it with one hand. It's hard to get myself and my 2 kids dressed and ready to go and out the door to be somewhere on time, and all of a sudden it's time to change my insulin pump. It's hard to explain to my ever-curious daughter why exactly it is that I have to make my finger bleed, and harder still, to hold my tears back when she rubs my arm to comfort me because she doesn't want to see her mommy hurt. I remember when my daughter was only a few months old, and she was crying because she was hungry. Although unfortunately my blood sugar was low enough that I was having a difficult time functioning normally and reading her cues. My clear-minded husband could tell that I was low, and he told me to give Madeline to him so I could get something to eat to bring my blood sugar back up to where it needed to be, and then I could nurse her. Unfortunately, when I am low, I tend to be a little bit difficult, and I refuse to accept help when I need it the most. So I refused to let my husband come near me, and I just sat there cradling my screaming infant and letting myself fall deeper into oblivion. Luckily, I am married to quite possibly the most patient man in the world, and he stood by my side. He stayed by my side just like he always does, and he managed to talk me through it and convince me to get something to eat so I could raise my blood sugar. I felt awful when I came back around because not only was I presenting a danger to myself, but I was putting my daughter in danger, the precious life that I'm supposed to take care of and protect. Now, luckily, she probably won't remember this experience, but unfortunately there are others, and she doesn't hesitate to remind me about them or to ask questions about them to kind of help her clarify exactly what it was that went on. One night when Madeline was about 2.5, I was putting her to bed just like any other night, but unbeknownst to me, my blood sugar was low and dropping quickly. Now, when you've had diabetes as long as I have, you don't always feel those sudden changes in your blood sugar. So I continued about putting her to bed, and apparently I started mumbling and proceeded to pass out across her body, pinning her down in the process. I'm not sure how long I was there before she realized that something was really wrong, and she started screaming for her daddy. I think it took about 30 minutes for my husband to get me to come back around, and the first thing I remember is seeing my daughter's precious, innocent face filled with confusion and concern. I reached my arms out to her, and she hesitated before she came to me. She was afraid of me, and I was heartbroken. She still remembers this day, and sometimes she'll randomly ask me about it, and in her sweet little 3-year-old way, she'll make me promise that it will never happen again. My son Cooper makes his own impact, even though he's just learning to talk. He's also learning about body parts, and once he discovered his own belly button, he set out on the hunt for everybody else's. In his search for mine, he came across my insulin pump, and apparently this interested him much more than my belly button. So I told him what it was called, and without much encouragement, my son's 5th word was pump. He obviously doesn't know what it is or exactly what it does, but he does know much more about it than any 18-month-old should have to. I am a good diabetic, and I am a good mother. I work hard to keep myself healthy and to keep my family's lives as normal as possible. That's probably the most frustrating thing for me about having diabetes, is that no matter how hard you work, there really is no avoiding the occasional high or low blood sugar that can obviously leave its mark. I have been able to defy odds and avoid any of the major complications that come from having diabetes as long as I have. This comes from my own hard work, the unwavering support of my family, and the devotion of JDRF, whose mission is to cure type 1 diabetes. JDRF is the worldwide leader for research to cure type 1 diabetes. It sets the global agenda for diabetes research and is the largest charitable funder and advocate of diabetes science worldwide. Because of this commitment, I have been able to go from using purified insulin made from the pancreases of pigs and cows to a synthetic form of human insulin delivered to me by an insulin pump which simulates a real pancreas. I've been able to advance from using a blood tester that takes me 25 seconds to give me my results to one that now only takes 5 seconds, and then it relays that information to my pump, therefore allowing me to better treat myself. All of these improvements in technology, there's so many, which are funded by JDRF, drive the discovery, development, and delivery of therapies to improve lives and ultimately cure type 1 diabetes. So clearly, I would be nowhere without JDRF. But you know what else? I would be nowhere without my husband, my family, my parents, my sister, the rest of my family. This goes for every diabetic out there, because diabetes affects not only the diabetic, but everyone who loves you too. Each and every one of you is here tonight because diabetes has touched your lives through someone that you love. I would like to ask every diabetic who's with us tonight to please stand up. That's right, you guys, give them a round of applause. Stay standing, please. Everybody stay standing. Now I would like to ask every husband or wife of a diabetic whose life is as consumed by this disease nearly as much as their spouse who's inflicted with it to please stand up. Now I would like every parent or sibling of a diabetic who has seen their loved one at their highest and their lowest to please stand up with us. That's right. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, children, please stand up. Look around. Look around at all of the people that share in this same struggle. From a diabetic who depends on my family who is out there standing up, nearly as much as my body depends on the insulin that it needs to stay alive, I say thank you. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for helping us find a cure, which will hopefully help me reach the day where I can be a mother above all else.